Welcome friends, we're on an excursion today. We're going to Melbourne Docklands to look at some architecture and in particular the patterns that architects are using in a lot of their buildings, which I find really interesting. Plus it's a chance to show you some, I want to say futuristic, that's probably too simplistic a term, types of architecture. Where I live is probably about 50 minutes walk from the city centre. So you go through all this industrial bit and there's this massive huge freeway behind me. Melbourne Docklands is a new development area, so they pretty much have bulldozed everything that was there and completely rebuilt it. We're almost there. This is mainly for people that don't know Melbourne architecture, and I posted a heap of Instagram pics actually, and people were sort of amazed at how modern and crazy looking a lot of Melbourne was. Most of those pics were of these Docklands buildings, which are, you know, it's a very new area, so they're all really new buildings. And there's also, I remember reading something that was sort of saying that postmodernism never died in Australia, and that it's sort of morphed into this weird candy land of architectural frivolity, I guess. That to me sounds like a very European opinion or a very foreign opinion. I look at Melbourne architecture and I think, wow, it's crazy, it's so much experimentation going on. Oh, I got distracted too. This is an awesome sculpture by an artist that you really need to check out called Emily Floyd, who works a lot with typography and printmaking. So she's sort of a graphic designer's artist in a way, but not like you would expect at all. Very interesting. Oh my god, and this building I have to point out too. Does everything look like Minecraft these days? Seriously, just me and my obsession with Minecraft Pocket Edition. I don't know. That was like a proper Minecraft building, I think. There's this building that has sort of an optical illusion thing going on, which is really eye-boggling when you see it in the flesh. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, that's a whole postmodern thing that didn't die. I don't know, sometimes you read so snarky things about Australian architecture from overseas, and I think it's because we're seen as a young country and therefore anything we do is sort of considered vaguely immature or still, you know, under development. Oh, this building, this was an example of a facade that just dominated the whole building and actually looked a bit shite. And see, some of it, like, I really feel like the pattern making is not a natural thing for architects to do. I feel like you look at these patterns and there's some sort of mathematical basis, or there's a fight against being mathematical and trying to produce this pure form, or trying to do what comes naturally to, you know, textile designers or graphic designers. This building's amazing. I should just point out it's like the Station Masters building. So in that building is a whole heap of like funny old blokes who like trains a lot, just sort of probably grumbling about the weird shaped windows or something, but who cares? An awesome building. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, there's a very naive quality to the sort of pattern making that goes on within architectural practices, I think particularly in Australia, that you don't see in a lot of other countries, which is what I wanted to point out in this video. That's not to say that the actual architecture is naive, but it's almost like we've got to the point where it's so and it's sort of really easy to produce a building. I'm sounding like, you know, oh, you just put up a building in a few days. I mean, obviously there's proof that in China with those bizarre skyscrapers that took them only a few days to put up or whatever. I know it's still a really complex thing, but the actual shape of the building seems to be something that needs a sort of something done to it. Like, it's almost like building a structure is so easy that all that's left is decoration, and it's often decorating just exterior forms. So you've got the form of the building. It's for some reason in Melbourne that's not enough. There has to be another layer. Actually, this building is Channel 9 in it's their headquarters. I really pity the people who have to look through all those lines all over the windows. I thought that was a really inconsiderate thing for whoever decided to do that to do. I should say there's pros and cons to the whole obsession with pattern in architecture in Melbourne. The pros are you get to just walk down the street and see these amazing, often naive, but not in a bad way, forms. Like someone's finding their way through pattern making and getting to do it on this massive, huge, impermeable scale. The cons are, of course, that it's an experiment and it often doesn't work. When I say that, I think, would I rather live in a city where the architecture wasn't experimental, where there weren't mistakes? And I'd rather live somewhere where there is a mixture of successful buildings, nudging up against the ones where the idea was there, but maybe the execution didn't really. I'd rather be walking around being excited about mistakes than walking around just sort of with drudgery. I often compare in my mind like Melbourne architecture to London architecture, where you've got these really big name architects that don't really do anything really astounding. If you look at the buildings that mostly get funded, especially the large scale buildings in London, they're not very challenging. They're really quite safe, and you just get the impression that the people funding these things are really conservative, and they don't want a building to stand out too much. They just want it to be well made, or in some cases not even well made. I mean, Heron Tower, Jesus. Don't get me started on London architecture. Especially from living in the city of London, you saw all sorts of crazy atrocities going on. Getting back to the Docklands, and this building is getting a lot of attention. This is the headquarters. It's not the headquarters for a bank. It's like some weird building where they have sort of a fluid work environment and community groups can come in, and it's got all this really worthy sort of ideals behind it. I don't know if it's working out like that. The obsession with pattern is so prevalent in this building. You can see there's pattern inside patterns with more patterns. It's almost like the structure is mostly made of pattern, which is a bit odd because you expect a building to have a distinct type of form. Stand back from this building and you can see it's a block that sort of had bits chiseled out to create these ravines and canyons. Again, is that a bit Minecraft, or is that just me? I don't know. But then there's also a layer of, I think that's what it is these days. There's a really obvious layer of decoration on top of a lot of buildings because the underneath structure is so well defined in a lot of ways. This is NAB's actual head office, which was built one of the first buildings in the Docklands. And as crazy as this building looks, it's now sort of old hat in a way. And I actually think, looking forward, I think the pattern thing is going to sort of recede a bit, and we're going to see a resurgence of wanting to use just really pure materials and really quality materials, so not just sort of stripped back concrete floors and stuff like that. Oh, that's the end. What did I talk about? Prattling on about all sorts of rubbish. Did I just talk for 8 minutes? Wow, go me. I should end it here. There'll be another video next week. Keep yourselves nice, and thanks for stopping by.